What is up, squad? What's up, crew? It is, what is it? August the 6th, 2023. Welcome to another Ghost and Clover podcast powered by our buddies over at European American Armory, EAA Corp. And we'll talk about them here. Well, we talk about them all the time, but we'll talk about them officially here. Here shortly, here in a little bit. Welcome wherever you may be joining us. Hopefully, you're joining live. If you are joining live, then make sure to throw a comment out there in the live chat, because a comment will get you an entry and you may be selected to pick the third topic for the evening. So how cool is that? If you're in replay, well, welcome for joining us as well. But live is where it's at, folks. Come on. Get with the program here. That segment, of course, brought to you by Taurus, and we'll talk about them a little bit more later on as well. Big shout out and thanks, as always, to the squad and the crew that are Patreon patrons, YouTube channel members, and those that help support the channel. And we are respectively members of the Firearms Radio Network and Self-Defense Radio Network. I don't think I missed anything and all that. I do want to say before we bring Ghost in here, my apologies for the late start. It is summertime in Texas. When it gets, the hotter it gets, the crazier the wasps get. And I was literally on the StreamYard page about to click, to get into the stream here. And I was dive bombed. And luckily I was able to dodge it. But I had to deal with it, unfortunately, so that took a few minutes, and so we're starting a little late, but better late than never, I suppose. With that, let's get Ghost in here. What's up, man?
What's going on, man? Yeah, episode number 12. Everything good with you besides getting dive bombed by the kamikaze wasps?
Well, here's the thing. If I go quiet, just understand that you kind of know why. Yeah, your chat Tuesday night from 8 to 9 o'clock roughly. I was pretty much radio silent, and the reason is in that time frame I had to kill 9. I had 9 attack me in that time frame. So yeah, but
we obviously know something's wrong if you go silent, because you very rarely are silent. So we know something's up, right?
Yeah. If I'm quiet, if I'm not causing a ruckus somehow, some way, better check on me. Yeah, this is true.
Yeah. But, in case you guys are wondering, if you're new to the show, new to the podcast, wondering how this is, we have 3 segments. The first segment is, this tonight will be my segment. The second segment is Clover. We bring our own topics. We do not tell what they are until we announce them, just so Clover will know my topic as soon as y'all do. And then the third topic, as Clover mentioned earlier, it is the random viewer topic. So all you got to do to be eligible for that is say anything in the chat. Say anything in the live chat. Clover's like the ATF. He's taken a list of names, and we'll draw one randomly. And like we've said this before, we'll pretty much talk about anything that will not get us kicked off of YouTube or any podcast platform. So it could be anything. We do talk a little bit of guns here and there, but this is not a gun necessarily podcast.
You never know, man. You never know. Have we had one that was all gun related? I don't know.
We've had a few weeks ago. We had one that was all food.
Yeah.
True. No, we didn't have one that was all guns, because there was one after that or before that both of our segments were guns randomly.
Yeah.
But the random viewer was not about guns. So no, I don't think we have had a full 3 about guns.
Yeah, they threw us off kilter, but that's okay. Yeah, I mean, that's what it's about. Okay. So yeah. So you've got first topic. So
I do. We're going to talk our favorite 80s bands. And they don't have to necessarily be in order. We're going to kind of go through our top 5 80s bands. And these are bands, they might have had their first album in the 70s, late 70s or something, but they became popular and people know them as 80s bands, So what we're going to talk 80s music, because I think that a lot of people out there are around our age, and that's kind of where we all started kind of growing up listening to the music. Now, we obviously, if you're like me, I grew up listening to a bunch of 60s and 70s stuff. But the 80s, growing up in the 80s was always fun because they had a lot of different interesting music. So we're going to go 80s bands. So I'm going to let you, obviously I have my 5, but I've known about this today. Obviously I don't expect you to put yours in order because you hadn't had time to think about it. We'll just kind of go real randomly back and forth, like our top 5 80s bands that either bring back good memories or we still listen to, but what we thought were our favorite bands of the 80s.
Yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, a lot of mine are 70s bands that spilled over into the 80s and then maybe the 90s, right? So it gets tough. Top of the list, and I think they definitely were a 70s band, but I mean they had a lot of stuff in the 80s too.
Yeah, sure.
Queen would be in the top of my list.
I figured they would be, obviously they were in the 70s as well, but once again, they were still equally as big in the 80s. The great thing about Queen is they changed with the times a little bit with their music, but they stayed true to who they were. And they had a big revival. What was that? Was that like early 90s, like 90, 91 when Wayne's World came out?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Rhapsody, huge rebirth of Queen in 1991. But yeah, some of Queen's biggest hits were in the 80s for sure.
Well, one of the biggest
had Live Aid that was huge also.
Yeah, that's what I was fixing to say, and that's why I went ahead and let's throw it out there. If there's an objection, there's an objection. But arguably one of the biggest events was their Live Aid, and that was 1985. Yeah. So that was smack in the middle of the 80s.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Yeah. So you got Queen. I'm going to go number 5 for me. And the reason why I say this wasn't necessarily that they were enormous in the 80s, but I know for a fact that it was not my first concert that I ever went to, but it's the first concert that I remember going to, right? A little band called Men at Work. And
yes.
They were great, and I still listen to a little bit of Men at Work every now and then, and they still live up. Their music still kind of stands now. But I'm gonna go to number 5 only because I just remember them being the first concert that I remember going to. I've been told that I went to several before that, but that's the first one I remember going to. So I'm going to throw in their Men at Work.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. Now, had you said Men in Hats, right? I'd have been like, man,
that I would have given you free reign to question that.
That would have been questionable for sure. Yeah.
Gunpowder Beauty says New Kids on the Block. Was that 80s? I guess
Oh yeah.
I guess maybe late, like 89. Something
that was
there,
late. New Kids on the Block was, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to look it up just for a second. Because
I guess it probably was like 88, 89 when they first came
out.
It
was late 80s. 84.
84.
They got together in 84. 89 is when they really started making waves.
I didn't know they were together in 84.
And then 94 they broke up.
Yeah, I didn't realize 84 is when they started that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I can remember New Kids on the Block being on the scene in 87, 88, somewhere in there. And then they got big there for a couple of years, and then of course they faltered off. They all grew up, let's be honest, with their own ways.
Yeah.
Marky Mark, obviously, the most famous of them all.
Well, his brother was, yeah.
Well, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. His brother, what's his name? He's an actor now.
Mark Wahlberg.
No, his brother. Is it Danny? Maybe
Danny Wahlberg.
Maybe, I don't know, but he's an actor now. So yeah, but he was probably the most famous of them for sure. All right, I'm sorry. I kind of threw you off track. Your second band that you would choose for the 80s.
So many. Again, a 70s, but really, really brought it on in the 80s.
Yeah.
I'm going to go country with Alabama.
Oh, snap.
It's hard to beat.
I did not put them on my list, and I probably should have.
Yeah, shame on you. Because
I didn't even think of them.
They may still hold the record for band of the year, consecutive band of the year. They may still. Yeah. So somebody else out there can look that up. I'm not going to.
If there is another band that was as long as they were and as good as they were for that long, then I don't remember them. So yeah. I'm gonna go with my number 4, and I consider them a band. They were different, but the Beastie Boys. I listen because they did actually play instruments. They, and so I consider the Beastie Boys a band. I'll get your opinion. Would that be considered a band, Beastie Boys?
Yeah, I think so.
You okay with that?
Yeah,
because they did play instruments. They and all that. So I'm gonna go Beastie Boys. Man.
Now Roy out there says Donnie Wahlberg.
Donnie Wahlberg. That's right.
Yeah,
that's Mark, right. That's Mark. Donnie Wahlberg,
brother.
Marky Wahlberg, brother. Yeah.
So Donnie. Thanks for that, Roy. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so what are we on? The third one?
Yeah, your third one. Yeah.
Either way it goes. Yeah, Beastie Boys. Like, I don't know. I'm gonna sidestep yours. Beastie Boys is definitely for me. It's definitely top 10. I don't know that Beastie Boys gets top 5 for me, but it definitely gets top 10. Man, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get hate for this, probably, but I don't really care. Because the chicks dig it, or at least they did back in the day. And I'm gonna go Bon Jovi, man.
Oh yeah.
And there was some pretty good tunes, man. Come on, tell me you won't rock out some "You Give Love a Bad Name,"
Bon Jovi,
"Living on a Prayer," "Wanted Dead or Alive," or "Let It Rock," or "Runaway." Or not a big fan of a lot of the new ones, but I will tell you this: my favorite album of Bon Jovi, hands down, bar none, without a doubt. If you have not listened to this Bon Jovi album, even if you're not a Bon Jovi fan, and assuming you're not a Bon Jovi fan and you've never listened to anything on this album, go listen to it, because I would like to know if it changes your opinion a little bit. And you're like, okay, I still hate them, but I like that album. It's the Blaze of Glory soundtrack. The Young Guns soundtrack.
Young Guns, yeah.
The Blaze. I think it's Blaze of Glory is the name of the album, maybe, but it's the Young Guns soundtrack.
I mean, here's the thing:
cover to cover, it's an amazing album.
Great album too.
Yeah,
what was a great album too. My number 3. It was so hard. But the first time I heard them in the 80s, it's kind of like the Beastie Boys. It was so different than anything that I had heard, and I was immediately like, wow, this is amazing. But I'm going to go with the Chili Peppers.
Oh, yeah. And that was 80s, and a lot of people don't know that was the 80s. I mean, it spilled over.
They think that, they
formed in like
Magic
maybe,
or whatever it was, was the first album. No.
They formed in the very, very early 80s, I think. Didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe even 80, right? Like, I mean, very early.
I mean, they might have been like 79, 80, somewhere in there, but
yeah, I think so. They were around a good 10 years before they started getting any love.
Yeah, I mean, they were big in like the punk and all of that. But man, when I first heard, the Peppers, that kind of like, it was so different than anything that I'd ever heard before, and man. Yeah, it was amazing.
So Gunpowder Beauty out there. And I just
Yeah,
want to I'm going to give my take on this, but
sure.
she's saying out there, Oak Ridge Boys, Charlie Daniels Band, Statler Brothers, the judge. So first of all, judge
Hmm.
is a duet. Watch any awards show from the
Yep.
past, and it's obvious. Charlie's Daniels Band, he gets artist. That's his band, but that would be the same as saying
He,
George. That would be saying like George Strait and Ace and the whole band.
yeah, it's the same
So
band for years, but it
yeah,
wasn't a band. It was
yeah.
him with his backup band, you
And the
know?
problem you've got that I think takes the Okies and the Statlers out of it is those dudes that those bands have been around since like the maybe even the 40s, definitely like the 50s and
Yeah,
60s,
different
and
members.
they've
Yeah.
just changed members over the years and years and years. So it's an ever changing band, so a whole lot different than some that have, for the most part, stuck together over time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a weird scenario when you have a band. Menudo, I think, as an example from the '80s. Maybe that was that way. You remember
Yeah,
Menudo?
Menudo
You
and
had what
Menudo.
Ricky Martin come out of Menudo, right?
Yeah,
And
but once again, like every 2 years they had to, because
yeah,
once they got past like 16 years old, they weren't allowed to be in there or something like that.
yeah,
It was some crazy
right.
thing.
Right. Now, I will agree with Gunpowder Beauty that I think the '80s version of the Statlers and the Oak Ridge Boys were my
Yeah.
favorite by far. I will agree with that
I
aspect
I
of
I,
those two
I
bands.
was never a huge Oak Ridge Boys fan. I mean, I liked some of their songs. Stadler Brothers, on the other hand, that was one of my dad's favorite. And
Mhm.
if you've never listened to it, go get the Stadler Brothers Christmas album from the 80s.
Mhm.
It's one of the greatest Christmas albums you're ever going to listen to.
Right.
Fantastic.
Right. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So where are we at? I don't even know where we're at.
Your fourth one. Yeah, your fourth one.
Man, jeez, like I'm just spitballing here. Like
Yeah,
that's a
this
bad
is
thing.
not in
That's a
order. Not
bad
in
thing
order,
about being,
obviously.
yeah, it's a bad thing about being behind the curve and it being your topic. Is like I hadn't
Yeah,
had time to think, so I'm just going to throw out
exactly.
ones I think are good, and if they, if they stick, they
Yeah,
stick.
that's what it's all
Uh,
about.
One that haven't been mentioned yet that
Yep.
definitely it was one of, if not the first CD I ever purchased.
Ah,
Was this band. Not gonna say I didn't have tapes from them and whatnot before, but
right.
Def Leppard.
Oh, Def Leppard. Yep.
Yeah.
Favorite album.
Oh man, that's tough. Like, God, High and Dry is good. Power Mania is good. I just the One Armed Hysteria album, man, is
Area. Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
what it was. There was something about he lost his arm. And if you don't know, he lost his arm, I think, in a wreck in a Porsche in like Italy or something.
Yeah.
Um, and then they had a special drum kit and all designed for him, right?
Yep.
And it just changed the sound. And I really dig. I dig One Arm Def Leppard more than the early stuff.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me
Interesting.
wrong. I like the early stuff. So for
Yeah.
those that love the early stuff and not the later, like I feel you. I know why you feel that way. But there was just something about when the sound changed with the drums. It changed, and it to me it
Yeah.
changed for the better. It's weird to say it. The drummer loses his arm and he's a better drummer, but like I think he did. I think it was.
Yeah. One arm drummer was better. I like some of the songs on Hysteria. I like Pyromania, the album, maybe front, beginning to end better. But I think they actually hit their stride and were at their best with Hysteria.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were at their best as a band with Hysteria. I just like the songs probably on Pyromania only because I love the song Hysteria. I think that's a great song. But like Pour Some Sugar, I mean, all those, like they were so overplayed. Like you just got sick of them for after a while. You know what I'm saying? Like at least I did.
Rocket and Animal.
I know.
There's just, man, and then when they got into the newer stuff, and I can't think of the album, but man, when they got into Two Steps Behind, and those are just
Yeah.
Miss You in a Heartbeat, like beautiful songs, man, like
Yeah.
just awesome.
Yeah, for sure. My number two, Guns N' Roses. I mean,
yeah.
When Appetite came out, Appetite changed music. It was definitely something. I don't know this to be true, but I know for a long time, if something has passed, it has been recently. Appetite is still the best selling debut album ever. And it wasn't just because they were great, but we were coming out and not saying anything was wrong about it, because I liked a lot of the hair band stuff. But we had that 3, 4, 5 year run with Motley and Poison and Warren and all of those with the quote unquote hair band stuff.
Yeah.
And when Appetite came out, it got back to rock. And honestly, I truly believe that had Guns N' Roses not come out in 87, I don't think there would have been the huge grunge movement. I think that GNR set up the grunge, because I think that GNR, Appetite for Destruction, made it cool to rock again. And I think that that's where the Seattle sound was like, well, someone just did it, so let's go do our own thing. But I think without Appetite for Destruction, I think it's one of the most important albums maybe ever, for a lot of reasons. But GNR, one of my all-time, it's a top probably 5 all-time favorite bands of all time for me. But definitely the 80s, when I heard, obviously Sweet Child of Mine, that has one of the most famous guitar riffs. When you hear that beginning guitar riff, you know what the hell, is going on. But that whole album was phenomenal.
Anything,
great.
Anything Slash, right? Easily recognizable to go, oh, that's Slash, Yeah. Man. So
Gunpowder Beauty says Twitch's sister was 80s, right? Correct. Yes, they were.
Oh,
yes, they were.
As a matter of fact, a very vocal fight in the because you had a lot of against music lyrics. Oh, music lyrics are poisoning the children and blah blah blah. And Dee Snider went to Washington. If you've never seen that testimony in front of Congress, it is there is the video of that, and I highly encourage you to go listen to him talking about like freedom of speech and music and stuff. It's amazing.
Former Marine, by the way. He's a Marine.
Yeah. From what I hear, very cool dude. So
your last one.
Man, there's so many. Right? Like GNR, you're fine. Man, I can think of so many. I don't know where I want to go with this, quite honestly, because now I've had time to think.
For me, it's pretty bad. Like when Journey and Metallica are like ultra, with honorable mentions. That's pretty bad.
I'm just spitballing. There's been a lot of great ones out there in the chat. Yeah, Metallica's right there. Okay, I'm gonna get sideways for a minute, because I'm gonna go with a band that is one of my favorite songs of all time. Very high energy. Okay. If I'm working out, if I really want to get pumped, it is definitely a tune. Top down, sunroof open, whatever.
Islands in the Stream.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Man, I'm going to do like Kevin Bacon, man. I'm going to rock some Quiet Riot.
Oh, nice.
Mental Health is
like
one of my most favorite iconic tunes. Mental Health is just, man, talk about high energy and just in your face.
That's a great one. I remember buying that album. Yes, it was albums back then.
Yeah.
Before CDs. I remember buying that album. I wore that thing out. Just wore it out. My number one band of the 80s, and it's a band that most people out there have probably never heard of, and that's okay. They are, to this day, they were only around for a few years.
I know what
to this day, they're still one of the most respected bands ever. They created a genre in the early 80s.
I know who you're going to say. I know who you're going to say.
You do. So they created the new wave genre, and it's a band called the Smiths.
Yep.
And if you've never listened to the Smiths, they're probably my third favorite band of all time behind Pink Floyd and the Beatles. But Morrissey's voice was incredible. Him and Johnny Marr created this music that became what new wave became. They were the first ones out of England to do it. And if you've never listened to the Smiths, you may not like it. It might not be your gig, man, and you may not like it. If you kind of like old, new wave music, if you like, let's say, The Cure and all of those, The Cure wouldn't have been around if it wasn't for the Smiths and all that. Yeah. But I'm a huge Smiths fan, so that's my number one for sure.
Sweet.
Of the 80s.
Well, we got to kick this thing into another gear.
Yeah, we got to go. We got to go.
EAA. So let's talk about EAA.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone that knows you and I know that we are big fans of EAA and European American Armory. What they've been doing the last several years, for a while, but the last several years, man, they have really kicked it into high gear. The Regard is great, which is the 92, Red 92. The 2311, the Witness 2311 is getting ready to come out. The MC14T is unreal. They're 1911s with the now offering 10 millimeter and the carry versions. Basically anything and everything that they touch is turned to gold. The MC14T, Clover, and we talk about this almost every time we do this, but if it's not named the handgun of the year, then they've been robbed. I mean, they not just because of the design, but what they're doing with it and what the target audience is for, and the quality of the build, and the fact that Gerson listens to EAA and they have direct input in these designs, and all of that is pretty remarkable. And I know that not just the handguns for you love their shotguns as well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the, for those that don't know, the Gerson is the 12 gauges, basically. Churchill is the one that makes the 20s. They're made under the Churchill brand, different action. But, the action on the 12s are awesome. What I was going to say about the MC14, if we move along here, is that video drop. I don't even remember when it was, maybe a week ago or so now. But if you are looking at picking up an MC14T, or maybe you already have, and you need grip options, lock grips, you can check out the video on that. Basically, it's the TSIS Faith grips, and you can, with a little bit, if you're handy, with a little bit of fitting here and there, you can make those work on the MC14T. And I'm thinking, I don't want to put this out there as gospel or a fact, but before too long, Locke will be actually making them just pretty much 2 screws, drop in, and you're done. But right now, anyway, you can do the Faith grips with a little bit of fitting, and that it's even more amazing. I mean, the recoil on it is not near what a Beretta Cheetah is to start with, and then you get those really grippy grips on there from Lock Grips, and man, it's just a whole other experience. So, Well,
before we jump into your topic, we want to remind everybody the last topic after Clover's topic is going to be the random viewer topic. If you're out there in the live chat, we got 28 people out there right now. If you're out there and you want to be eligible to pick our last topic, once again, you guys choose it. We talk about it. All you got to do is just say something, anything, whatever in the chat. Doesn't matter what it is. Just say something, and that makes you eligible. And after this segment's over, Clover will do the drawing, and you guys will be able to choose our last topic. So
you can literally say something.
Literally say anything.
Yeah. Exactly.
What you got for us tonight? What are we going to talk about for the next few minutes?
Man, potato chips.
Okay. Now.
Well, let me back up. Let me elaborate.
Potato chips, or can they be chips?
So I'm from Texas. I'm from the South. So a potato chip can be a Cheeto in the same way a Coke can be a Dr. Pepper.
That's where I am too. But just to clarify for people out there, we will be talking about things other than Lay's and all of that stuff.
Chips.
Right?
Yeah, chips. What's considered a chip? It's in a bag. It's typically crunchy. Chips. Now, corn nuts don't count. So, combos don't count. Those are not chips. No. But
how about Cheez-Its? Are those more considered crackers?
Cheez-Its are a cracker.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah,
I just
Cheez-Its
want to
are
make
a
sure that I'm on the
crack.
right page here.
Yeah, Cheez-Its would be
I
a
agree
crack.
with you. I just wanted to make sure because
Yeah,
if you were going to allow Cheez-Its, then Cheez-Its would come up,
yeah,
But
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. So I wanted to get into some of the favorites, but more
yeah.
importantly, and I think what I want to start with anyway,
Mhm.
um, is some chips that are no longer around that you like. You wish they were, and they could maybe no longer be around in your area because that is a thing. I've seen
Mm.
that before. So um, one of the ones that I can't find anymore, and when I could, it sounds disgusting, but they're not. Is Lay's. They did their crazy flavors there for a while. They put out I don't know how many, like just crazy flavors. Um, it was a campaign thing they did there for months, and one
Oh
of
yeah,
those,
people could, like send in like what
yeah,
they wanted,
yeah,
right?
it
Yeah,
was
yeah, I remember that.
crazy.
Yeah.
They were some crazy flavor combinations and stuff. But the one that I thought were amazing were uh, biscuits and gravy. They
Oh, no.
absolutely 100%. If you have ever eaten, or if you like eating regularly, sausage gravy with biscuits, these chips, obviously the consistency is a chip, right? Like
Sure.
the consistency is not the same. But as far as flavor, they nailed it. I don't know what concoction of chemicals they had to use to do that. So it may not be the best idea to eat
Yeah.
a whole bunch of bags of those. But um, yeah, that I miss those for sure. And
I oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead with yours.
I was gonna say I remember growing up they were favorites, and I don't look for them anymore. So when I say that they don't make them anymore, they very well could. I just don't look for them anymore, and I don't see them much anymore. But I used to love Funyuns when I was a kid, and I don't know if they still make those or not. Do they? Have you
They
seen
still make
Funyuns
Funyuns,
anywhere?
man. Funyuns makes
Okay,
my favorites list. Actually,
yeah.
I love some
Um,
Funyuns. Not to the
I haven't
level of
had them in a
Marshalls,
long
but I
time.
love some Funyuns.
Yeah, I haven't had them for a long time. Like I said, it's not that I don't
Yeah.
know if they're making them or not. I would say they still are. I just not looking for them anymore. I may have to find me some Funyuns or something.
So
I haven't seen them in a while.
somebody out there may have seen these, and they may be able to correct me. And my wife got a bag one time,
Yeah.
and I tried them. And I can't remember if it was Lay's or Ruffles, but I think that it was Ruffles, and it was Funyun flavored Ruffles.
Really? What?
Yeah, yeah. Fun. It blew my mind too, and I was like, "What?" My wife's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna
Right?
get those and try them." And they tasted like Funyuns, but the consistency wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like there's something
Yeah.
about the consistency on Funyuns, and it was not there. I mean, it had the consistency of a Ruffles or whatever, but they had the flavor
Right.
spot
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah.
The chip companies, man, especially Frito Lay, man, they've got the flavor science down for whatever reason.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know my favorite chips ever.
Well, before
Ah,
we get to favorite, I'm gonna talk
okay.
about
Okay.
another one and see if you've ever seen these around, or folks out there in the chat because we are paying attention and reading those. Gizzard
Yeah.
out there says Andy Caps hot fries. So before they were Andy Caps, I can remember those in junior high and even elementary school in
Oh,
the
the
vending
hot fries
machines
were good. Yeah.
and the hot fries and the bacon cheddar fries, but they were Tom's. Was the
Toms were the
brand.
ones yeah, the Toms, at
Yeah,
least where I was, where is what it
yeah,
was. And that's
yeah.
maybe a
They were
Texas
Tom's.
thing.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, no doubt those are awesome. But those count as a chip. Um, no, there was a chip that came out. It was really weird. It was a fried flour tortilla chip with cinnamon and sugar. So
Oh, that sounds good.
it was not your traditional chip in the sense that it was salty or savory type, right?
Sure.
This
Yeah,
was
yeah,
more
yeah.
of a dessert type thing. It was more of a sweet thing. And I don't know if anybody out there, if they're still around where you guys are at, or if anybody remembers them. But do you remember those? I don't even remember what they were or who made them, but I remember them, and they were awesome.
I One of my favorite chips that we were talking about ones that I haven't seen. I might have been the only person ever that liked them, at least maybe around here, because like the only time I ever see like anyone buy them, like the rack get smaller of bags, is when I bought one. So, and that's probably the reason why they're not around anymore. There for a short time, maybe a year or two, Doritos had one called Buffalo Ranch, and it was like buffalo sauce with ranch seasoning.
Yeah.
And if you like, hot wings and ranch or whatever, man, I loved those things. But they were only around, at least around here for a year or so, and I never saw them again. So obviously they weren't very good.
Yeah.
Or at least most people didn't like them, but I enjoyed them,
Yeah. Defense that out there, he says Funyuns are the Captain Crunch of chips, delicious, but they'll shred the roof of your mouth.
They will destroy your mouth. No,
this is
100%.
true. You better have plenty to drink. So yeah, favorites. What are a couple of favorites?
Favorites. I'm a big fan of Lay's salt and vinegar. The blue bag salt and vinegar Lay's, only because that's what I put on a lot of on my sandwiches. And so when I eat sandwiches, I always have to have the salt and vinegar chips on my sandwiches. I would say that not my favorite all time, but like a top 3. One of my favorites was definitely just a basic Lay's salt and vinegar chip for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just thought of one because I was thinking about favorite and favorite. The Lay's, just straight up barbecue. Now they do have a sweet and spicy barbecue, I think, that's out now, and it's okay too. But the classic, I think it's a black bag barbecue. But that made me remember one that I haven't seen around in forever, and probably because they lost the contract or the branding on it, was Casey Masterpiece barbecue.
I don't remember that.
They had those at one time, and I can't remember if it was in Ruffles or Lay's, or it may have been in both. But those were pretty amazing because Casey Masterpiece for off-the-shelf barbecue sauce is pretty solid barbecue.
I don't think I ever saw that. I'm not a big barbecue chip guy. I don't hate them, but I don't, if you don't go looking for it, it might be one of the reasons why.
Yep. And then I'm a traditionalist with favorite, like just a regular old Lay's, man. Sometimes salt and potato is all you need.
Yeah, for sure. A couple more of my favorites. So I'm gonna bring out 2 of them. One of them, you're just going to take my word for it. One of my favorite chips I ever had are certain chips. They're shaped like rings. And they're in Japan. And when I go to Japan to see my wife's family and all of that, I can eat those. And my wife was back home back in February. She brought a bunch of them home, and I'll just destroy them when she brings them home. They're just basic potato chips flavored, but they're like shaped like rings, and they're just so good. But
now, are they like cylindrical or just more like a Funyun type ring?
No, they're like circles, like
so more like a Funyun.
They're like kind of like a Funyun, but like thinner. They're smaller.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Because there for a second, I don't know. Anybody remember the nacho rings? That was also a thing that was in like junior high and elementary school or something. That was in the vending.
I vaguely remember them,
but they were like, I'm trying to even describe what they're like, but they were like a cylinder. So think of like a Coke can or a cup without a top and bottom, right? So they weren't like a Funyun or an onion ring in the kind of sense. They were way thicker or whatever, taller or wider.
These will remind you of like a wedding ring shape.
Okay.
Like a wedding band.
Okay.
But a little bit bigger, maybe at the size of like a $50. Or something like that. But they're like a wedding band type.
Yeah.
They're really, really good. They're just basic potato flavor too. And I'm sure they have different flavors, but I enjoy those. I want to throw one out there that I don't know if it's my all-time favorite. I gotta throw Dorito Ranch. I love Dorito Ranch.
Oh yeah, Doritos in general. I mean, it's hard to go
Doritos
wrong.
in general, but probably my favorite that I don't eat them very often anymore, but because they're just, when I say this, you'll understand why I don't eat them very often anymore. They're messy. But I gotta go with like cheese balls, like the cheese puff balls.
Oh yeah,
that you can get in like the huge plastic, container of like 10,000 of them, and they're so good. But you get that crap on your hands, and it takes 5 showers to get that off, which is great. But that's probably why I don't eat them much anymore. But those are probably my favorites.
Cheetos, man, that's the thing with anything like Cheetos. I mean, the Cheeto dust is real, right? So I'm going to create a civil war out there in the live chat real quick.
All right.
So Cheeto puffs, and they can be whatever variety of puff, or Cheetos crunchy, and they can be whatever variety of crunchy.
I'm definitely going puffs, 100%. Now my wife. I'm a puff.
Are you a cheesy poof or a crunchy type?
I'm a powder puff for sure. My wife would definitely choose crunchy, and she's going to go flaming hot. That's her vice. She's definitely a crunchy Cheetos person. I'm definitely a puff for sure.
Yeah, I gravitate more puff. Yeah.
Yep. There is no shame in my game. I am a powder puff when it comes to Cheetos. Now, will I eat crunchy? Hell yeah, I eat them.
You can't.
If I had both of them sit in front of me and said, "Pick one," I'm gonna go puff. That's just
at the end of the day, I don't care what shape the Cheeto. I've been those Cheeto paws, and they've had shapes over the years.
They've had, what are the other ones they had? They were kind of like 3D almost. They had like they weren't puff. They were like crunchy puffs, if you will. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I remember those as well.
Yeah. So,
223 says popcorn flavored cheaters. I've never seen that.
Oh yeah,
but that could be dangerous because I'm a huge popcorn guy. So
popcorn flavored Cheetos, they're down here. They are in the $2 bags. So
really?
you see Munchos. I don't know if you've ever ate Munchos or anybody out there, but Munchos was my grandmother was her absolute favorite. You talk about shred the roof of your mouth, they'll do it too. But Munchos are like $2 a bag, and those the Cheetos popcorn things, they're $2 a bag, and then the pork rinds, the Baconettes or something brand, I think they are the hot and spicy and the regular pork rinds. There's several different bags of chips in the aisles here that are $2 a bag instead of whatever they are now, $4 or $4.50 or whatever crazy price it is, but. Yeah. I
never even considered pork rinds, but I guess pork rinds, they're considered chips, would you not?
I would classify it again. It's crunchy. It's typically, it's got that. It comes in a bag, not a box.
And it's usually in the chip section. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it comes in a bag, not a box. It's got more air in there than it does chips.
Now let me throw this out there because I want to give an honorable mention. I know we got to move on, but I want to give an honorable mention. The best chip, in my opinion, but they're always like an accessory to food. Like, I'm not a big fan of them on their own, but I love them on so many different things, are Fritos. Like, my dad can eat Fritos, but he used to love Fritos. I can't eat Fritos by themselves, but you put Fritos on under like chili or a lot of other stuff, I can eat me some Fritos.
I hear you, and so let me ask. I know we got to move on, but it's our show.
Yeah.
So, have you ever eaten chili cheese Fritos?
Absolutely. They're phenomenal.
Chili cheese Fritos. You're talking about eating just Fritos? I will devour a bag of chili cheese Fritos because it tastes like Frito pie.
But just the regular Fritos, I can't eat by themselves.
You have to put those in something. Yeah, you have to. Now, I'll tell you something.
Add them to chili, people, if you've never had actual Frito pie, it might be a Southern thing. I don't know. But, man, you're welcome.
Well, and have you ever had Frito pie on a tortilla?
Oh, heck yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
the Sonic, or you can do it at home yourself
I
even.
do it at
It's
home.
just a
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
just a different delivery device. You're not having to mess up a bowl, paper
Yep.
plate, throw your tortilla down and
Little
throw that crap
chili,
on
some
it.
cheese, a little
Yeah,
onion, oh,
yeah,
a little sour
yeah.
cream.
And then throw the paper plate in the
Oh,
garbage and you're done. You know what I
yep.
mean?
You're welcome.
Unlike eating a bowl of something, but yeah, man, a Frito chili cheese wrap thing. Oh, good stuff.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
good stuff. So
yeah. Man, I'm hungry.
if you have yeah, we've only got one segment though, so we can
Yeah.
we'll make it. The if you have commented out there, you're covered. If you have not commented, now is the time because we are about to draw somebody that's going to give us our third and final topic of the evening. I'm working on getting the screen
So
share up now
be thinking of
for the
some topics
giveaway.
that could be interesting.
You do not have long. As a matter of fact, I'm going to draw right now.
Yeah,
Why?
go
Because
for it.
we can. I show.
Because we can.
So here we go with the spinning the wheel of destiny, so to speak.
Wheel of Destiny. That's interesting.
Oh, ho,
Oh,
ho.
this
There we
could go
go.
down so many weird roads. All right, brother. Mandatory carry out there. Wow. I'm a little nervous where this could go. I'm a little nervous. While we're doing that, let's talk about our sponsor for this segment is Taurus, and it's not just handguns, it's Taurus International. Most people know them for their handguns, but they own a couple companies that will bring in other things. But uh, let's talk about Taurus real quick, Clove. I'm more of a fan of their semi-auto stuff the last few years, but I know that you're a fan of revolvers and some of the shotgun brands that they're under the umbrella of Taurus. But let's talk a little bit about what you like from Taurus. Uh-oh, did I lose Clover? Don't know if we lost Clover or not. I will. All right, I'll keep going here for a second and talk
I'm
about what
back.
I love about Taurus. Oh, okay, cool. I've been saying this before. Obviously the PT92 is a 92 clone, and everyone knows that I'm a big 92 fan. Hey, baby. But the last couple of years, they started with the G2C when it came out a few years ago, but we really the G3 when the G3 models came out, they stepped up their game on the semi-auto striker fired, and it's really, really good. The G4, I don't own one. I've shot a G4 quite a bit. I don't own a G4. I do own a G3, and I think the G3 might be you can get for under like $200 right now. The G3 very well could be one of the better guns that you can get for $200. The G3 for me was when I started recognizing Taurus as a legitimate. I'm not saying they weren't before, but when I personally started recognizing Taurus as a legitimate factor in a striker fired polymer game, they really stepped up their game in the G3. But I know that you're a fan of revolvers and some other brands that they have under the umbrella of Taurus International. So I'm going to let you talk about some of your favorites.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about Rossi for a minute because
Yeah.
Rossi's been coming along, and you want to talk about you know uh budget minded compared to the Marlins and the Henrys and the Winchesters and stuff like that. But Rossi's come along with the pistol caliber,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and just have a variety from stainless to Rossi's even got the tactical black synthetic with the rail and all that kind of stuff. So Rossi's really come into the lever game really, really well.
Yeah.
Heck, they've even got the I think it's called the Real Bravo. That is obviously John Wayne fans will recognize that, but it's almost
Great.
like a
My
Henry.
my favorite John Wayne movie was Rio
Yeah,
Bravo with
almost like
Dean
a
Martin and Rick Nelson, right?
yeah, yeah, almost like a Henry with the brass
Mm.
style. I don't know if it's brass or not, to be honest. It may be just plated or painted. I don't know, but receiver on that, and then depending on whether you're an 1894 or an 1895 fan, they've got those variations as well. So Rossi doing a lot of cool things, and Rossi right now, as far as I know, um, other than Turkish anyway, is the only single shot shotgun player in the game.
Mm.
Um, so you used to had your New Englands and your H&Rs and Taurus, made them. But now the Taurus line, since Taurus acquired Rossi, I guess they're pushing the the I forgot what they called them back in the day. It's not the tracker, was it? The Taurus. What were those? If somebody knows the Taurus shotguns, single shot shotguns, mention it
I
out there in the
honestly
chat.
didn't know they had a single
I
shot.
can't remember. Yeah, and Rossi's even got a pump. So
oh yeah,
there you,
okay.
yeah. So there you go. Doing a lot of cool stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Mandatory carry. He's got our topic. What is the worst machine gun ever? And you can't say the Shosha. So
Show. Yeah. Worst
I don't know what you call
machine
it.
gun.
I always heard it was the Shosha,
ever.
but it might be the Shosha, whatever. Worst machine gun ever. I can think of a couple right off the top of my head. I've never shot either one of them, but I can just go on by reputation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And they had, I don't know if it's still there. I remember seeing one at JM Davis. Was the Nambu, the Japanese from World War II. It was a gas. I don't even know what it's chambered in. I'll be honest with you. There's no telling what they chambered.
6.5 racial slur. I'm not going to say.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, I get it. But I know that one had a lot of issues, because it was one of the first kind of the gas LMGs, and I don't think they had it right. I mean, I know that those things were pretty much worthless after not too long. But the Nambu, I know historically was looked very, very bad. And then I hate to say this.
1919.
Yeah. I mean, John Moses didn't create everything equal,
Yeah. They had their issues.
They had their issues. A 30-06 and all that. They had issues, and you're not going to hear too many people's. You're not going to hear John Moses Browning designs on a lot of people's worst list, right? But this one probably is, as much as I hate to say, the 1919.
Yeah.
What are some of yours?
I can think of a few failed copies of like some German stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Now I'm gonna get probably the names wrong or something like that. So don't crucify me out there in the chat for pronouncing them, because I don't know. But one was, and it was, I believe it was in a 6.5. Not 6.5, Japanese.
Sure.
But
right.
the Beretta 30. Like I said, got a lot of German influence in that thing.
Yeah.
And it was just, it's first of all, go look up a picture of like the Beretta BERDA, I think. Just Beretta 30 will get you there, I think. And it's ugly as it can be. It looks like somebody went to the hardware store and just bought a bunch of random pipes and fittings.
Guys, by the way, he's not saying Beretta like the Italian company.
No, I'm saying BREDA.
Breda, or yeah.
Not Beretta, BR.
Yeah,
no E in
exactly.
there.
Yeah, I have to tell people, basically be the East Texan interpreter here. Because there's gonna be people going, "What's the Beretta 30?" It's not Beretta, it's Beretta or Breda, or however you want to say it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then another one that comes to mind, and again, I'm gonna butcher it. And also in the 6.5, go figure. I don't know what is going on with that.
Well, maybe the 6.5 should not be put into a light machine gun. Just saying.
Yeah, maybe that caliber just didn't work real well. And this one, believe it or not, is German. German design, German built. The brims, nor brims, I guess, is that's how I'm gonna say it. NORR, I
You talking
think BREMS,
about,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it was German
I think
designed,
so.
German manufactured,
Yeah.
and it was used by the Swedes. I do know that.
Yeah.
So that's probably why I'm trying to say something, and I don't have that Swedish accent, so it ain't coming out right. But Nor Brims,
Yeah.
that's what that one is. And yeah, Ken, like I said, 6'5",
Like,
and
are you talking about the 40 or the 35 one?
it was the 35,
35. Yeah. 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 Those
30.
are.
Well, it depends on, it depends.
Okay.
In Swede, it was I think the M1940 or the M40
Yeah.
or
The
M1940
Swedish model was the
was a
40.
Swede.
Correct.
Yeah.
Not 40 caliber. Not 40
No,
caliber. It
model
was just
or
the
whatever.
model 40.
Yeah,
Yeah.
model year.
Yeah.
And
The
then the
German, I think,
German
was a 35 or a 36 or
was
something. I
35,
might be mistaken
36.
about that.
Yeah, I believe it was
Yeah.
35, 36 in German. Yeah. So,
And that was a weird caliber. If I'm not mistaken. That one wasn't 6.5. I don't think, was
yeah,
it?
it was
I might be
6'5".
wrong
Yeah.
about that. Was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
It was
couldn't remember.
6'5". As far as the caliber, I
But
couldn't tell you
yeah,
the cartridge. Here's the thing, just
it's
because,
kind of like they took a Thompson and made it into like a
yeah,
gas gun or something, kind of a
yeah.
weird one.
And it's important to distinguish and delineate too for those that might be listening that are not lifelong firearm owners and gurus and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We often interchange. We use caliber to mean cartridge, right?
Correct. Yeah.
When you say, "Hey, what do you carry?" and I tell you, "Oh, I carry a 380," and you go, "Oh man, that caliber sucks." Well, that's a
Yeah.
cartridge. It's not a
It's a
caliber.
cartridge. Sure.
So that's a cartridge. The caliber is 9mm essentially.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, in 30 caliber, good Lord, if you told somebody, "Hey, what are you shooting?"
Oh man,
"I'll shoot a
there's
30 caliber." Oh, good
37
Lord.
different 30 calibers.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's way more than that. But yeah.
I'm just saying, but technically a 6.5 is a 30 caliber,
Yeah. 6.5 is a 30 caliber. That's the
right.
that's the metric version of the 30 caliber. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, just keep in mind that while we're saying all of these are 6.5, it doesn't mean that it's one cartridge they're using and they all suck because that cartridge sucks. They all use a different cartridge essentially.
Yep.
Well, a couple of them use the 6.5 Japanese, but yeah, that's where I'm going with it anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Mandatory carry has got a good tidbit, and this is true. Says Beretta did come up, not Beretta. I know I'm a redneck, and it sounds that way. Beretta come up with the first burst fire trigger, so they got that going for them. Yeah, here's the thing. I mean, success, and we've talked about this. I think we talked about this on your show Tuesday. How many successes has been built off the backs of failures, right? Like you could have a phenomenal trigger in a piece of crap gun, and eventually things are going to catch up. That trigger is going to get used in something else or whatever. So you got to have. That's what I get. I get really upset. We go to SHOT Show every year, and you get the haters out there. And Tay said it best. Haters going to hate. But you get the haters out there that's like, oh, why do we need that?
Into this?
You
brought Tay Swift in. Oh my God.
I did. I drug her liberal rear end right into a gun conversation. I sure did. She can sue me if she don't like it. Anyway, so they say, oh, that's a piece of junk and blah, 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 and it's something that's got some innovation in it. It's got some cool things going for it, right? And it's like, they should have never bothered with that. And blah, blah. Well, if they never bother with that, then nobody else ever sees that and then improves upon that for us to get something better down the road. Like everything has to evolve, and you have to have something before that can evolve.
Well, and I'll take exactly what you're saying. Every single one of these worst machine guns ever that we talked about are from that World War II era, right? So why were those the worst? Well, that was talking about innovative and outside the box, having these light machine guns and all of that back in the 40s and the 30s was crazy talk. So they were failures in the sense that they didn't work all the time. They weren't reliable. But look at where the light machine guns of the last 30, 40 years are. Those wouldn't happen without the failures of these quote unquote worst ones back in World War II, right? So as much as we talk about these being the worst, yeah, they probably were the worst, but they also were incredibly important for no other reason, inspiring the 240s and all of these, the M60s of the world. They inspired people to say, you know what, those were not very good, but we can do this. Like, now that they've done that, like, we know what not to do. We can make these. The M60, the 240 Bravos of the world. They're definitely resting on the shoulders of the weapon systems that we talked about being the quote unquote worst ever, because they were the first ones, or they were one of the first ones, or they were introducing things and trying to make it right with the technology available back then was, not as much as we have. So as much as we talk about some of these being bad, like you said, the ones that we regard as the best ever may not have been around if it weren't for those. So
yeah,
keep that in mind as well.
So as we move out of the viewer-driven segment, because this pertains to Taurus and Rossi and Heritage, but
Sure.
Iron Horseman up there, he says, doesn't Thompson Center still make a single shot?
I have no idea.
Well played. Yes, they do. They do make a single shot shotgun, at least one that I know of, one model. The issue is it's an $850 single shot 20 gauge. So that being said, thank you to our sponsor, Taurus Rossi Heritage, because you can get a single shot shotgun way cheaper from them than $850. Yeah, it's not a Thompson Center. It doesn't have that name behind it. I hear you. But well played, Iron Horseman. Yeah, thanks for that, because I'd totally forgotten about that.
Yeah, for sure. So, real quick before we move on, I want to address mandatory carries. I would have said the Gatlin. I never think is the Gatlin as a failure or bad.
It's not I don't think of the Gatlin as a machine gun. You have to turn a crank.
I could see the machine gun as far as a rapid fire, right? No, it obviously is not a machine gun. It's a whole different mechanism that fires. But even if it was considered a machine gun, I don't consider that a failure, because that changed the world, man. The Gatling gun changed the world.
Yes, it did. So, the Devil's Harmonica. I mean, just think of all the nicknames that sucker's got, right?
I would never say that that's a failure.
Most times when you see a Gatling gun or anything that is a Gatling gun design, it is referred to as a Gatling gun, not a machine gun.
Correct.
So, and the laws and everything, what am I thinking? The laws, laws on owning them are different as well.
Much different, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw a Gatling gun and a cannon. You remember probably 4, 5, 6 years ago at Wanamaker. We actually
there's always at least one Gatling gun and at least probably awesome 20. At least probably 20 cannons. There's cannons all over.
The one cannon was enormous. Like we had to help the guy out to the parking lot. But Gatling guns, you'll see 1 or 2 of them every time at Wanamaker, and they're still cool to look at. They really are.
The cool thing about the cannons is you would literally see them the size of a matchbox car that shoot.
Absolutely.
What do they shoot, like marbles, or not even big enough to shoot a marble?
No, I would say maybe more like a BB almost.
Yeah. Like literal cannons that you use black powder for, right? Like the size of a Hot Wheel.
That are working cannons, technically.
All the way up to the big boys, like you put on a pirate ship almost or something. All kinds of cannons.
I don't want to be a pirate.
Yeah, it's a cannon. That dude on Sons of Guns all the time. Remember him?
Oh yeah.
Lord. So we got to close this one up.
Yeah. What you got coming up this week or in the next couple of weeks? Anything special?
Man, I had a good run of bad luck, so to speak.
You did.
From Clint Black. I had a good run of bad. Was that Clint Black? I think it was. A good run of bad luck there. A few days ago, laptop died for like the second time in 4 years. And it's because my wife, before anybody says anything, my wife's got the exact same model, bought the exact same time 4 years ago. Hers runs like a champ. I'm hard on it. It's used and used heavily all the time, and they don't hold up. So it's kind of like the car game a little bit, right? Like you
Yeah.
can only take a high performance car, and you can only stress it for so long, and it's gonna lay down on you. Like it ain't
Yeah.
made to do that.
It's
Uh,
not meant to
a
be a daily
Camry,
driver.
a Camry, however, will last forever. So,
Yeah.
and for what I do, I got to have the race cars, unfortunately. So hey, they burn rings out and whatever, so to speak, car speak. So
Yeah.
anyway, so I'm working on getting some things situated. First of the month sucks, that as far as content creators and revenue streams go. Seems like everything comes in toward the end of the month. So
Yeah.
good run of bad luck, hit it the worst possible time. So I don't know when the next video is going to come out. That being said, I did get a Chromebook in the other day that is capable of doing a lot of emails and obviously responding to messages and things like that. And so I'm going to continue to schedule out the late season of the podcast. As a matter of fact, I've got, I think, at least 12, maybe 16. I can't think for sure spots that are scheduled for the late season podcast. And
Yep.
I'm pretty sure I've already got 9 commitments. I've already got 9 of those spots full. So
Nice.
a pretty good mix, pretty healthy mix as always of 2A people. Some little surprises in there that aren't really 2A people and aren't really industry people. That's just they've got a cool story to tell, and they are firearm owners, and or they're adjacent to our community.
Sure.
So should be another fun season kicking off. First part of um, September. Yeah, here in a few weeks.
Awesome.
Your
Yeah, if
turn.
you guys, I mean, you guys know that this time of year is just my insane time of year. So, thank you, everyone. Always been patient with me during the summertime because I haven't been to the range in a couple months, and I'm just busy at work. Especially this year, Clover kind of knows some of the background of this year's been just insane. I'm not complaining, but that's just one of the reasons why you're not seeing a lot of stuff from me that you normally would. I will say this: September and October, November, get your big boy britches on because you're getting. Speaking of machine guns, I'm getting ready to go fully automatic on you guys out there. So, looking forward to that. Jarhead podcast. Yeah, go check out. We've had some great guests this year. Coming up next month in September will be Marine Congressional Medal of Honor winner Dakota Meyer. And I'm trying to confirm the exact date, but Kyle Carpenter, another Marine Medal of Honor winner, and then Phil Vallejo, who's a Marine Scout sniper. And if you guys have heard of them, I think it might happen in November. Still working on times, and yes, some of these people actually do schedule their stuff out 3 months, 4 months ahead of time. I believe there's a good chance that DJ Shipley's coming on. Been emailing back and forth with DJ, and great guy.
Ghost dropped out mid sentence, so hopefully he gets back here in a second. That was weird. So maybe a internet glitch. I'll vamp a little bit till.
Hello.
There you go. Now you're back.
That was weird. I could hear you the whole time.
You said you had DJ Shipley and it faded and got quiet, and then it went completely quiet.
Really? So, yeah. That's very interesting. No, DJ Shipley might be coming on in November, and been talking with him through email back and forth for about 3-4 weeks now. That dude's crazy busy. But DJ might be coming on in November, maybe early November, but we'll release it probably in mid to late November, probably before Thanksgiving. But we're trying to get DJ. We got a lot of great guests coming on. Working on some maybe Rudy Reyes for next season, starting in March of next year. All sorts of cool people. It's interesting, Clover, and we talk about this all the time. In 6-7 short years we've been doing this stuff, the people that we've been honored and able to meet in our community is quite amazing. And it's so funny that like there's people that I never, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, when would I have a podcast, much less 4 of them or whatever we got going, but being able to talk to some of the people that we're now friends with.
Oh yeah.
Who would have thunk, right? I mean,
oh yeah.
So it's kind of cool to be able to get some of these guys and gals on the podcast and be able to do all that stuff.
Man, I've got I can remember watching Top Shot back in the day. And, I'm friends.
Now we're friends with several
of them. 4 or 5. And I won't tell you who, but I've got one. It's been a while coming up in the late season, so I'll actually have 3 Top Shot champions in this year alone on the podcast. So, it's crazy. It's crazy. So go check out obviously all of the stuff Ghost has to do. Yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And thanks to the Patreon patrons. And
don't think of Clover stuff as don't think of Clover stuff as just a bag of crap. He actually does some good stuff out there.
One of the best scenes ever, right?
Oh, that's so good, so good.
And we got to get out of here.
No, I was going to say real quick before we get out of here, like we always do, thank you for everyone that always supports Clover. Brought up earlier, supports Clover, myself, whether it's through Patreon or through channel memberships or buying swag off our websites or using our Amazon links, whatever. Thank you everyone that's always doing out there. Go out there and support our sponsors. Yeah, go for it.
Real quick, speaking of Amazon links, favor for anybody currently live or in replay, and Ghost is doing this too. I've been really active, my wife and I, with it. But jump down in, not the Ghost and Clover channel or whatever, but go to our individual channels, jump down into the influencer store and follow. And the reason is we are doing video content over there. Ghost has been busy. We've been really cranking it out. And Amazon also has lives. I did my first live on Amazon like last week before the laptop crapped out. So get over there, follow. That's a cool experience. It's a different platform, playing around with things, and invite you to check that out. Sorry, but wanted to throw that in there. And we got all quiet. Did Ghost leave me? He ghosted me. Ghost ghosted me again. I don't know what's going on. We'll see if he jumps back in. But it's been really cool playing around with that platform. If he jumps in, maybe not. I don't know. I hate to pull the plug when Ghost is not here, but I think I'm going to do it. Thanks for. Yep, he dropped out. So I'm going to pull the plug on it. Thanks everybody for hanging out for another Ghost and Clover. Thanks to Mandatory Carry for the third. For the third topic of the evening. If you are listening in replay and you've gone this long, remember that live is where it's at. Get your rear end over here. Got anything else to add, Ghost? Maybe not, because he's back. Well, we can't hear you. There he is.
That was weird. My wife said the internet wasn't working in the living room, so something might be screwy with our internet tonight. Really strange.
Well, it happened at the end, so it's all good. So pull the plug and we'll call it.
All right, y'all be good. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in 2 weeks. 2 weeks for the Magical Mystery Tour. We'll see you then.